Welcome to the Grappling Podcast, everyone. For our third intro.
We try to make that very smooth.
Yeah, we got into a good conversation, though. And so I'm glad we had it.
Okay, we're all warmed up. We're 30 minutes in.
Yep. Okay, so everyone, we had our first successful remote video episode last week.
It was really good.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I did that from my iPad, and then Levi did it here from the studio.
Yeah, that was really nice. And then we'll work on some setups with the video here as well, too. So we'll have to figure out something with that. Otherwise,
I got an idea.
What's that?
Well, let's talk about it later.
Okay.
So we don't have a fourth intro. We just keep talking about how to structure the podcast.
Size, so it's like, never mind. Okay. Right.
So, Levi, have you ever seen Mission Impossible?
Yeah.
Well, actually, the Mission Impossible movies.
Yeah.
I love the Mission Impossible
so
movies. The second one got a little bit wacky.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of the time frame.
Yeah.
I was pretty young at that time, though, so it was the perfect movie for me then. But
it was a series I started getting into when I had COVID for the first time.
Okay.
And I was just laying in bed, and I'm like, I just gotta have something to watch. And for some reason, I'm like, Mission Impossible.
Dude, Mission Impossible rocks. The first
really
one's so good.
Oh, it's good
The
action.
third one is really good. The fourth one's probably my favorite.
Is that Ghost Protocol?
Yeah, there you go.
One.
And the fifth one was good too, Rogue Nation with Henry Cavill.
Yeah,
that fight in the bathroom was legit.
When he reloads his arms.
Yeah, I love that part. It's awesome. I like when he throws him into the sink. That part's crazy.
Okay, so that was that one. And what was the next one?
Actually, that's the one I think that just came out, and I actually didn't finish it yet. I was on an airplane. I was like 5 minutes from the end.
It's like a part 1 and part 2 now, right?
Oh, I didn't know that.
I think it's like a part 1.
Okay, well, I didn't see the end. So, anyways, so in the third one, I'm glad you like Mission Impossible movies as much as I do, because I really think they're fun. I think they're fun.
It's good spy stuff, and I think what makes them even more unique is that it seems like Tom Cruise wants to push himself.
Yeah.
In each one, I think if he just was cashing it in every single time and just like not caring about it, I think they wouldn't have been as popular as they were. But like him climbing on the outside of that tower.
Oh, that's part's so cool.
And things like that.
You know what's interesting too? I heard the way he does his own stunts, no insurance company would cover the size of productions.
Okay.
So he actually covers it after they film the whole movie, and then they go back and do all the stunts just in case he gets
like, this is what I want to
really hurt. And he actually puts up for the insurance and everything. Like he self-insures it pretty much.
Well, because this latest movie had a huge stunt where he was taking his motorcycle off a cliff.
That was crazy.
Right. But I saw the behind the scenes of all that. It was like sets up this big ramp, and he had to do it like tons of times.
Did he actually just start launching motorcycles off the cliff?
Yeah, I'm not sure how they recovered it or whatever. But
I don't know if dude, I saw it. I don't think you can. I don't think you recover that motorcycle.
Well, maybe they're like cheaper motorcycles. Let's put it that way. Like something that's not like.
But still, think about that. A cheap motorcycle is like $3,000.
It's insane to think how much it means to do one scene. I think sometimes it's interesting because with the amount of like CGI these days, it's like you think it'd be more of a like you could fake that.
Yeah, I hope they don't though.
Yeah.
I really like. I get it when it's going to kill somebody.
In the movie, they took out obviously the ramp, so it looks like he's just launching himself off a cliff, but he's actually launching himself off the same spot.
So cool.
The same stuff, but it's just like I think this would have been infinitely times better if this was like in 1980 or something like that. Like for people to go like, there's no way, like there's no faking of it. It's just him doing it. Kind of like a James Bond, like he had one where he went off a cliff and.
Hot take. I've always been more of an Ethan Hunt fan than a James Bond fan. The reboot was cool and all, but
the reboot's cool. I like the reboot. I have the poster of Skyfall in my office.
That's cool.
I like Skyfall a lot. Skyfall was kind of like it broke Bond. Like he was kind of broken. Like he was all cocky in the beginning, and then it broke him, and then he basically had to like rebuild himself back. Plus, a lot of it takes place in Scotland, so the cinematography is just amazing. But it became more of a simplistic storyline than something like really crazy or intense, like world-ending type stuff. It's kind of cool, more of a grounded version of it.
I got to rewatch that one then.
It goes Casino Royale, and then the second one was like Quantum of Solace, which sucked. And then
I think I fell asleep.
Skyfall was amazing. And then I don't know what the fourth one was. Can't remember that. But Skyfall was just Casino Royale and Skyfall were
Casino Royale
amazing.
Starts out really cool. That was like I remember they
parkour and
they were like running through the place, and I just thought it was neat because it was a total change. Because prior to that, Ethan Hunt was always the guy going like strapping things to him, jumping off of stuff, like whatnot. Well, and then James Bond was always like, "Let me tell you who I am."
Yeah, exactly.
And then we'll talk for a while.
I think it changed a lot with the Bourne series. Jason Bourne.
Yeah.
Because also now he's doing like Krav stuff or hand-to-hand fighting type stuff.
Get that guy a steady cam.
Yeah.
The first one wasn't bad, but then it got progressively worse.
So
Sorry,
funny.
Matt Damon, if you're listening.
And then John Wick just changed everything. They had just one shot.
Yeah.
Showing him do everything. And they're like, oh, this is way cooler.
So the reason I was thinking about Mission Impossible 3, the bad guy isn't the bad guy.
Bad guy isn't the bad guy.
The bad guy you
I
think...
don't really remember the story too long.
So, okay. Spoiler alert, everyone. You've had like a decade to watch this, though, so I don't feel bad.
Yeah, it's a default.
Okay. So the guy you think is the bad guy
Yeah.
isn't the bad guy, and it's actually somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also the bad guy you know is the bad guy. So essentially there's a three-pronged approach here.
Gotcha.
Bad guy you know is the bad guy, who's like the arms dealer.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the head of the MI task force that you think is, because there's evidence corroborating that he would be the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
But then you find out it's actually the guy who's been helping Ethan in the inside, who's like the director of operations for it.
Right.
And he is actually the bad guy who's in cahoots with the bad guy you knew was the bad guy. But I thought this was a fitting start for our topic today.
Well, I was going to say, I think arms dealer would be a great t-shirt for jiu-jitsu.
Oh, that's really good. That's really good.
I'm an arms dealer.
I love it. Yeah. That'd be awesome.
Reload my arms.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, what's our topic?
But yeah, so I thought this was a good topic because in jiu-jitsu, I think there's a misconception.
What's that?
Your opponent isn't actually your opponent. The true bad guy that you're actually fighting is injury.
Ooh, and that's the top.
Because think about it. Injury is always lurking, trying to get you. It's like a crocodile hiding in the water. And sometimes it bites.
Without you knowing, you could be sleeping in your living room and that crocodile's going to come
Boom,
right
it's
at you.
going to get you. But for reals, though, because there's a perception I think that needs to change in grappling, where the person that you're grappling against is there to actually help you learn grappling, and you are there to help do the same. Sometimes you're going to be force-feeding that lesson to them, or you're getting force-fed that lesson.
That's the infamous quote from John Jones.
What?
That he says, like, I'm paraphrasing, so sorry, but something along the lines of like I'm helping my opponent because I'm showing them like where they're weak.
Yeah.
Like when he's beating them down, it's like, I'm showing you where you're weak.
He's just
like,
a bad dude, though.
I'm helping you right now.
But if you think about it, you're both actually fighting injury, because injury is the thing that stops skill development.
Correct.
You know, that's why I think it's actually typically safer to roll with higher belts, is they realize this intuitively or through actual exploration of their thoughts.
That was some of my thoughts coming into this episode of like, you know, where injuries happen, where do they get lessened, how to prevent and manage it too. So it's kind of exactly what you said. I think a good default start right away is that injuries seem to get less and less and less the more experience you get.
Yeah, and I think that's because you both tailor your experience to try to limit injuries for both of you.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to say that for newer people to the sport, to say just get more experience and it'll go away a little bit.
No, it's funny, though. What you just said actually does work, though.
What's that?
Get more experience and then it goes away. But it was literally what we're saying.
Well, it's something that it's not like over the course of 2 or 3 weeks. This is like,
oh, no.
You know, you're doing it over a couple
years
of getting used to like, a lot of it's situational based too. But most of the time I find that is because if you're going to get someone new, it's like seeing someone try to ride a bike for the first time. Like it's all wobbly, or like, let's say being in a car with someone who doesn't know how to drive.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just kind of crazy or whatever. And you're along with the ride and all it takes is some weird, like a lot of times I feel it's more tenseness. People are more tense. The spot I always have the worst time, if there's a newer person that they're tight, is guard passing.
Yeah.
Because there's just like,
I'm always scared I'm going to get a finger in the eye.
Yeah. There's like a reach out and they're trying to get on top of you. It's like, I'd rather stay chest to chest and work from there, and I'm fine. But it's the guard passing that probably
we like to hug around here.
What's that?
We like to hug around here.
Yeah, we're a friendly community.
Yeah,
but it's like I think anything prior to that, it's just people are newer.
It's that punchy, that twitchy punchiness.
Twitchy punchiness is a good way of putting it. It's just like it's kind of like I don't know, and you add on size or physicality to it, and that gets scarier. So most of the time when I have someone like that, if they're visiting or whatever, it's like it's anxiety, so it's managing it. But I just get a little more of a defensive shell because I have the experience to know when this could be injury prone or not, and you know, adjust myself accordingly. So more experience, less injuries. You'll occur. It doesn't mean you accrue, but will occur between experienced people as well. So is you getting experience will help, and then working with other people who have experience. It's like not two purples, 2 browns and blacks is like just a slow game. There's not too much for explosiveness with it. I mean, you get a little more no-gi in competition. There's a little more explosiveness, but at least people are aware of movement a lot more, so you're not as caught off guard by some things.
I think it's also like you're less likely to have your opponent fall on you randomly. That's a big problem.
Yeah.
But in preparation for this episode, I created an injury framework.
I like that idea.
So I broke injuries down into 3 types. By the way, this has to go. I have to say this.
Oh, let's do this right now.
Yeah. This does not constitute medical advice. We neither Levi or myself are medical professionals. Obviously, please consult your medical professional with any questions that you have in relation to injuries, training, anything medical related. We are not doctors. We don't pretend to be one. This is simply our experience and the way we think about injuries.
There you go.
Yeah. Don't listen to this.
Yeah. Exactly. Just a bunch of idiots just in here talking.
Yeah. But by no means we're not going to be talking about anything about healing injuries either. Correct. This is literally going to be like our experience with it and the way to think about injuries and training that you can talk to about your doctor with your doctor. I mean,
that's true.
Or however you want to do it. So, injury framework. First one I put as a type 1 injury where it hurts, but you can still train pretty much the same with a few alterations to your game or training. And an example here would be you like jam your thumb.
Ooh,
totally sucks, but you're going to still be in tomorrow. You're just going to tape your thumb up, or maybe 2 days from now.
I had that the other day with Billy. I was going to do like a body lock pass to him, and my hand just shot through, but it couldn't judge the distance from the ground, so my finger just like went right into the ground.
Oh, bummer.
I only felt it for a couple of days, but it was just like, but it's those little things injury-wise that's maybe not so much we'll talk about later too, like submissions. It's just the mechanics of you moving your body against a resisting body. Like, things are going to happen. But yeah, fingers suck. Do you ever get toes?
I actually catch my toes between the mats.
Oh, mats, yeah.
Like, I actually break my toenails up backwards sometimes. Yeah. Like, not the full thing, but like a good chunk of it. That sucks.
These mats.
Yeah.
Weird cracks.
They're cool that you can like pick them up versus having the whole big sheet,
Yeah.
You can swap out a mat, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
But those seams, man, they will get you.
Be careful.
Get you. Okay. So that's the type 1.
Okay.
Type 2, you damage something, and it's something that you have to adjust your training. But if you're smart about it, you should be able to be back to training within like maybe a month or 2 or however long that injury takes to heal. But really, this is the tricky spot to be because if you're not mindful of it and you don't accept the fact that you're injured, you could worsen this thing to be really bad.
I would say level 2, if you want to call it that, is probably something that doesn't go away immediately after 4 or 5 days, like doesn't greatly lessen. It's something that's like, oof, like that's a little bit more of a sprain.
I'm gonna say,
like that,
or you pop your ankle because you were in a heel hook. Well, we'll get to that later, folks. Actually, maybe I should just talk about it right now.
Sure.
Okay, so I was training at another gym. Great group of folks, really nice. So nobody did anything wrong, But I ended up, I was in a outside heel hook with a guy who didn't know heel hooks very well. And he wasn't ripping it. He definitely wasn't. But he was pulling on it kind of hard. But the funny thing is, it didn't hurt at all.
Yeah.
So I just let him keep doing it as I was trying to see I wonder if I could counterattack from the spot I was. Because I was actually standing. And it's usually kind of hard to get someone in a heel, to finish a heel hook when you're standing.
Did he reap it with outside ashi?
He was kind of half reaping it with
using his arm more.
His legs were kind of all over the place. So the point is he didn't have an established position that was standard, and it didn't hurt. So I just was like, okay, I'm just going to let this keep going because I don't feel like I'm in danger.
That's what Gordon tapped that guy out the first round in ADCC with that exact move.
Yeah.
A single leg X, outside ashi.
That wasn't his plan. This guy was nice dude. He just kind of had his legs up in the air and he had my heel in the heel hook is really what it was, which is why I actually didn't feel like I was in danger because my leg wasn't locked down.
Gotcha.
He just had it
tight.
and he was a bigger guy. Admittedly, he probably had 60 pounds on me.
Okay.
But and he just kept going in a nice slow. He was doing it in a pretty controlled way. He wasn't ripping it. But then my ankle just went pop super loud. We both went and looked at it and I was like, oh my God, did I just break my ankle? It's like that. And luckily I was walking and I was really confused because I'm it doesn't hurt to walk, but it does hurt in certain positions and it's a little sore.
Yeah.
So I stopped rolling for the day. helped him clean the mats and everything. But then it started getting a little more and more sore. I woke up, wasn't even that bad. I've broke my foot and I've hurt my ankle before pretty bad. And I've had that thing swell up the size of like a freaking melon.
Yeah.
And it didn't do that this time. It's just a little bit swollen and it doesn't even hurt to run. But it's like if I twist my ankle.
You were like this, right? Like
essentially repeat the no. Well, that might hurt too. That would hurt too.
I'm saying I have to take like a twisting action.
If you heel hook me outside heel hook motion.
Yeah.
Essentially, if my foot rotates that way again.
We need to talk to Lachlan Giles about the exact motions of it.
Because no, it's an 8 out of 10 if I do that. So I'll talk about what I'm doing to alter my training here. I'm lucky that I feel like this is a type 2 injury that if I'm not an idiot about, I'll be out of the forest here in a couple months.
I've only popped my foot once. I've had like you would do straight foot lock training like with you and playing with it, and it'd be sore. Like it'd be sore a day or two or whatever, just because it was like so much technique rep. But I've only had it popped once, and it was this person I was rolling with that I got him in a rear triangle. And this was actually fresh off my major injury, which we can talk about too. And the guy I wasn't on the best terms with, and it was unfortunately just at another place. And I was very close to tapping him, and he's like, "Oh, is this your bad foot right here?" Like it was like basically dangling out in front. It was like the top side of the lockup for a triangle. And my ego said, "Yeah, but I'm fine." I was like, didn't want him to feel like, "Oh, I could have gotten out if it wasn't your bad foot."
Oh, gotcha.
And I said, "Yeah, I'm fine." And the moment I finished that sentence, he grabbed it and ripped it straight down. And I felt like a tear in my foot. And I just basically like grinned it and just pushed him off of me and, kept going with the match. But I was freaking out because I've never felt like a pop in my foot before.
It's scary.
Yeah. So I didn't know, like I said, the intensity. And then the next day happened, there was nothing. So
you lucked out.
Yeah, it wasn't like
maybe just a tendon rolling weird or something.
Something felt weird, like a bone, like a knuckle, kind of knuckle crack.
Ah, okay.
But it felt like poppy. It felt like, oh my gosh, like my foot just popped. And now I'm visualizing me off this injury, and now my foot popped, and I'm imagining weeks, like all these things. And
which actually, hold on, let me share what a type 3 injury is, and then you should share your story. I think that makes sense. Because I would say yours is a type 3 injury.
Yeah, it's close.
I would say a type 3 injury is catastrophic, may require surgery, has a long road to recovery, and training when you have a type 3 injury would honestly be dumb. Like, That's the way I think about it. You need to wait for it to turn into a 2 or a 1 before you... Actually, hold on. Medical advice. That's not medical advice. I personally would wait until it was like a 1 or a 2 before I started even entertaining the idea of getting back onto the mats.
What's your ankle injury?
A 2.
You think it's a 2?
Yeah.
You just told me if you get the heel hook, it's 8 out of 10 pain.
Yeah, but it's fine otherwise. So I would say it's a 2.
Oh, okay. But let's say we train and you take off your brace. Would you be okay with that?
2.5.
So I think there's a middle ground where maybe a 2.5 is like, it's doable with like let's say like a knee brace.
That's what I'm saying a 2 is.
You're saying a 2 is like requires a brace?
Not even requiring a brace because there's too many injuries to like name.
Sure.
But just like you could still train.
I guess so.
You just have to alter. Like, look at me. I'm not doing any stand up.
Gotcha.
I've been playing on my buns.
Sure.
Yesterday we had some great rolls. I obviously, like, anyone who rolled with me knew that I wasn't like going hard. I was essentially just a punching bag. But
it was nice because A, you had the brace on, and B, on top of that, we have these red bands here that if something's injured or weird, to put it on. So actually, that's a really good advice for anyone out there with any gym or studio. There's these red kind of fabric bands that you'd slip on, like a basketball wristband or something like that, and it just signifies to your partner, like if something's injured or tweaked or whatever. So even though they obviously would be respectful of your injury, in the midst of rolling and drilling, they might forget which is which.
Yeah.
Like which elbow it was. So if you slip something on your left elbow, now they're playing with arm locks. They go, oh yeah, that's right. His elbow is tweaky or his foot's tweaky. Like it's a very big signifier. So I think that helps.
It's hard also when you're rolling like their right arm, but they're facing,
right.
And then, or you're like, I'm upside down spinning on top of that, or they're spinning on top of me and I see that red band. I can just go, okay,
it's a weird
cool
mix
about
because
that one.
Especially if you have the band on and you're rolling, it also shows me that you are willing to like be resistant and to be working on things. So obviously your partner wants to be respectful, but I like the red band just because doesn't make people have to play this memory game like you just said, like left, right, north, south, like where am I? And obviously if you're in a good training environment, people will respect that.
Yeah,
so I think that worked out pretty well.
You're not trying to win at training.
No, we're developing.
Yes. So, okay, so I would say that you had a catastrophic level 3 injury from
wrist locks suck, man.
Yeah. And it was non-jujitsu related, everyone.
Yeah. So to basically summarize it, I got hit on my motorcycle. I got T-boned at an intersection on my motorcycle, which sucked. I was driving motorcycles for about 2 years, so just basically brand new to it. And I had like a small bike, like a 1981 Kawasaki. Like it was literally like a Sunday drive bike.
Okay.
Which is funny enough, when I got hit, it was like a Sunday drive. It was like I got done with jiu-jitsu at a friend's house, and I was driving back, and was coming up to an intersection. It had green light, and there was a person ahead of me that was in their left turn lane. It looked like they were waiting for me to come in because I was a good distance off. So I go, okay. And then the moment I entered the intersection, they started turning. And I freaked out. And I was like, I don't know if I should speed up. I don't know if I should swerve. And my instinct was to speed up. And as I sped up, it just T-boned me perfectly.
Dang.
Flew off my bike.
You can't stop immediately on a motorcycle, so you probably made the right call.
Yeah.
And
it's weird because
trust your instincts.
This was also video recorded because it was at a popular intersection. So actually I didn't know how I'd respond. I watched myself got hit by a car, and it was just a weird feeling. But it basically felt like to me I got really tackled hard. I didn't feel any immediate pain. So the moment I landed on the ground, I was checking myself, and before I did that, I noticed they sped off with my bike sparking underneath their car. And so they left as well. So that was a whole
crazy.
That was a whole separate thing. So we won't get into that. But anyways, I felt my leg buzzing. I knew I broke something, and my shoulder was cracked. Nothing with my head, fortunately enough. But
were you wearing a helmet?
Yes, so I was wearing everything. But the crazy part is, like I said the other night, no scratches on my helmet at all. That's 20 years of brake falling, ladies and gentlemen. It's like something happened, or like not a single scratch on there. But obviously, this all perturbed me from ever being on a motorcycle again, unfortunately. But
I actually sold my motorcycle not long after hearing your story.
It's just weird. I love it. If everyone got off the road and allowed me to just drive back and forth, I'd be back on a motorcycle today.
Same, dude. Motorcycles are so fun. They're super fun.
They're very fun. It's just I can't trust people being distracted for a second, which what this was, obviously. So I cracked my shoulder. I broke my tibia and fibula, or like fractured it or whatever. It just completely broke. I'm not sure what a fracture and so it completely broke.
Yeah. Remember, we're not medical professionals, so we can just say you snapped it.
Snapped it like a twig. And then they put a metal rod in there to hold it in place. Yeah, so adamantium. I was telling people what was in there. Some people are joking that it should have extended up to my knee and like down through my ankle and then tightened it. So like you couldn't get knee barred or couldn't get ankle locked. Like,
give me a break.
Can you just adjust my joint once? So I can't get this. But yeah, so I had that. And then a year later, basically, I had it removed, which is good. And then,
that was only a year later when that happened?
Something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Because I remember you were here, like you had the studio when you had the plate in your leg still.
Yeah, so that was bad. But yeah, so I got it recovered and just basically slowly over time, some exercises and squats and knee mobility. And then I had my recommended knee brace was the Anaconda knee brace that I put it on a couple times as well. And that just made me feel like that scene from Batman from a Dark Knight. It feels like I should pick a wall.
Like tightens up.
It was perfect. But yeah, it slowly improved over time. And I was very thankful because after getting hit, after some complicated stuff that was happening with that, it just felt like, wow, my jiu-jitsu is never going to be the same now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it felt like, it was like, oh, my ankle's always going to be sore. My knee's always going to be sore. So when I was thinking about jiu-jitsu and recovering and getting to that point, I was thankful it wasn't a spine or neck or head injury. Like, that would have been horrific.
Yeah.
But the first thing I did was basically, I think it was like 3 weeks after I got hit and recovering, I was at like the jiu-jitsu gym. But I wasn't rolling. I literally went and just sat on the mats and watched.
That's a good idea.
So I say that because for me, I don't have any scientific evidence for this, but it was something energetic about just being on the mats and feeling that vibe. Way better than laying on my couch around my bed. Like there,
Yeah.
I'm on the mats, and this is like my home here.
I feel like that
on the
has to
mats.
like, to get a little woo, I feel like that has to like, you know, permeate through your spirit and be like, okay, we got to heal, man. Because there is weird things about where people imagine themselves healing. And I think there is some science on that where they actually do heal faster because of it.
Well, and it's funny too, because I remember sitting there and then all of a sudden suddenly someone's working some back control stuff and I literally limped over and it was like in back control. Everyone's like, no, I got settled down. Like, I'm fine. I'm fine. Like, this is like, it's almost like a spirited thing. Like, I'm out here doing it. Like, I remember a couple times I started walking off my crutches. Like, just the time I was able to step a couple times without the crutches, like, you feel like I'm healing and I'm here and doing it.
Progress.
So I think there's certainly some sort of subconscious thing in your body that gives you that confidence to go like, hey, we're doing good things here. So I would suggest anybody that has that level of injury.
Hold on, wait, be careful.
My personal opinion.
What did you? Yeah, you did.
No, not so much of maintenance, but to say like if it feels possible and healthy, like just come to the gym or the studio.
Assuming that's okay with your doctor.
Assume that everything passed with your doctor. Yes. So we gave the disclaimer.
I know.
Away.
I'm disclaimer champ over here.
Just saying, if
that was your experience, though.
Yeah, my experience. So it just felt like that helped a lot. Like again, it's like being around friends. Like I had people stop by and say hi and things like that. Like I think there's something mentally invigorating about just being there. Because I think if you're away from training that long, you feel disheartened because now you come back and you're like, oh, these people I was working with, now it's 6-8 weeks. I'm back on the mats. Like they're ahead of me and whatever.
I took 2 years off. You know, like you get to you start feeling like really like, am I ever gonna go back?
But if you're there at the gym, you're there like part of the progress, and you're talking, you're watching. And I think the relation I had was, I remember Henry Gracie has some back injury, and then obviously Gordon has some leg injury from a leg lock. But both of those times was them being encouraged to say when it feels healthy for you and recommended by your physician to come back and train your mind is the big thing. So we've had 1 or 2 people at the studio that would have an injury and be able to come in and they were watching, they were asking questions, they were taking notes. Just because you can't physically perform at that moment doesn't mean that you can't still be here engaged with the framework and the details and things like that.
You might get really good at like seeing everybody and go, they're going to do this. Oh, they're going to do that. And like start to put those connections together.
I remember Jill was saying that too. Like when she started getting more into jiu-jitsu, like she would watch matches and like be understanding of like where things were happening versus being in person or doing first person type stuff. Like maybe it's one of those injuries where like you're not, let's say you do jiu-jitsu, but you never really watch too much outside of jiu-jitsu, that now suddenly you're here and you're like forced to like observe and watch matches, then maybe it puts you in like a different third person perspective. Like, oh, I can understand the language now. What would I be doing in that person's situation or the other person's situation? Like you're building that framework. So even once you're cleared to be training again, then, you know, you have that framework is still developing in your head.
You know what's a good spot to start with that?
What's that?
Watching MMA. And here's why I say that. The jiu-jitsu in MMA is a lot more simple. It's a lot simpler.
That's what Craig Jones says.
And just because there is so many other variables that you have to be mindful of and get knocked out and whatnot. And the gloves make things some things hard. You don't see people doing a lot of crazy moves. Like, you know, Ryan Hall did some of the craziest stuff, and that was just a Niaminari roll. But and it's kind of cool because you can get predictive with it. I was watching a fight over the weekend, or last weekend, I should say, or last weekend. And it was just one that was on TV, and I was at my in-laws, and it was kind of cool being like, oh, they're going to do this. Oh, they're going to do that. And just start like saying it in like you're like, have a premonition. You're just like, oh, he's going to try to take his back there. Oh, yep, there it is, you know, because the game's so much simpler.
Makes sense.
Versus like the gi can get kind of crazy. So I feel like that would be the hardest one to just watch and try to guess what's going to go on.
All the different grips and angles and all that stuff.
So that's a pretty crazy injury, though, that you had.
I got lucky that it wasn't worse, which is a bone breaking. I cracked my shoulder, too, but I was thankful because I had gear on that had reinforced shoulders.
Oh, you had armor on?
Yeah, I basically had armor on. And I was always thinking, like, if I didn't have my jacket on, which I never do, but if I didn't, and if that wasn't reinforced, like what my shoulder would have looked like. Like,
oh, boy.
I must have hit the ground hard on my shoulder.
I broke my shoulder once.
What was that from?
Funny enough, pedal biking, because I used to race them, but I was going about 35 because we were sprinting.
jeez.
Because you can go pretty fast on a road bike, and my chain threw, and I ended up falling through. I fell all my weight through my handlebars and into the concrete, and I had to go to the hospital. I had a broken scapula, and dude, it was not fun.
I've heard. I'm not sure. I broke my collarbone at least 4 times.
That's what they checked me first at the hospital. They were like, this dude's collarbone has to be broken. It wasn't somehow. I just somehow broke my scapula.
Or at least it was 3 times. 3 times at least.
Dang.
First, it was at birth. I was born with a broken collarbone.
Okay.
And then second time,
Rough
was
day.
like me just jumping off a table for some dumb reason as a kid.
That makes sense.
And then the third one was like a Charlie Brown thing where I was trying to kick a ball going downhill, and I slipped and went right into my back and broke my collarbone too. So
since we're talking about wacky injuries, I've cracked my head open twice.
I would not trade that.
No, that was bad.
Cracked? What does it mean cracked your head? Like you're bleeding from your head?
So that means you crack your skull, you know, like or like.
Well, how do you know your skull is cracked?
They took me to the doctor.
Well, I'm saying like they do an X-ray
first time,
and they're like, you cracked your skull.
I think so. I'd have to talk because the first time the first time I don't remember because I was like 1. I fell off a bed.
I'll say that's how bad the crack was.
You
remember.
Yeah.
I was told.
The other time was when I was 6, and what made me think about it is that you were jumping off a table. Yeah. I was jumping down a flight of stairs, and there's like the banister. There's like the top part of a stair, like where the ceiling comes down, and it's a corner.
Yeah.
Flew down the stairs, clipped my head on that, fell backwards, fell into a banister.
So bad.
I won't go any more into that because just in case we have a squeamish audience, but like it hurt really a lot, you know?
Yeah, my left leg definitely has taken a beating over my life. My lower body was from the motorcycle because I think it was literally the car hitting my leg was what broke it.
Okay.
The actual hit from the car.
Was it really going that fast or was it?
No, it was speeding up from 0. So I think it was probably 15 at that point.
It's crazy how much energy something that big has.
I was going like the speed limit, which is like 35 or 40, which makes me feel good too because I was suddenly like, I could have been at fault for it, but everything was clean on my edge. Like, obviously I don't do that, but I was like, I'm just relaxed, just going about my day. But then my other major injury was I was in 3rd grade that I had my femur broke, which sounds like
your poor leg, dude.
Yeah. So I was chasing my brother in the house, and I decided we were doing laps, like we're circling in the house, and I decided to spin the other way and meet him and try to catch him off guard, and we collided at a corner.
Oh.
And I fell backwards. My leg basically landed behind me, and I snapped my femur in half. And then, long story short, kind of pun intended, the surgeons or whatever set my leg wrong, so my leg became 3 inches shorter than my other leg. And then we had to do surgery on the right leg so that my left leg could catch up.
Dang.
So I'm technically an inch shorter than I should have been. How many people can say that? Like, you're an inch shorter than you should have been. So I'm at the magic number of like 5'11" and a half.
Yeah.
So I'm not like the 6 foot number, but it's funny because my brother's like 6'1" or 6'2" or something.
You just be like, dude, you were just
like,
jealous.
You did this. You felt, intimidated.
So, anyways, we've had a lot of injuries.
Yep.
But back to topic today. There's like we still
that was
have
our topic. Right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, but managing. Let's give some actionable advice. The first thing I wanted to share.
We're not doctors.
Yes, we're not doctors. I just wanted this one actually. I have jujitsu advice here.
Okay.
What I learned popping my ankle. So.
Just felt like that was a book.
You need to keep your joint tight. And I know that sounds dumb.
Because joint tight?
Yeah, and I'm going to explain this, and you're going to go, duh. Okay. But it's one of those things that I just didn't think about.
Sure.
So I have pretty flexible ankles in like, if you turn them like kind of sideways a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And as I've been in footlock sometimes, most of the time, I actually just kind of let my leg be relaxed. And most people, when we're like doing leg lock stuff, we don't really go too crazy with it. So that was usually enough. They would go slow enough that I could just go tap, tap, I'm out. That worked well, you know? But when in this scenario, it didn't feel like it was in danger. And the problem is though, because my foot was relaxed, he could keep moving against it and just stretch the tendon out and then went pop.
Oh, yeah.
So here's the funny thing. After it happened, I was like, I felt like such a dummy because if I was working armbar escapes, my bicep, I'd be flexing it, right? Trying to stiffen my arm and trying to pull it to me. Or like I would have my arm in a rigid position in some way, shape, or form. You wouldn't just be relaxed sitting there, letting them extend through your elbow. You'd be like, no, you'll get your elbow broken backwards. Yeah, that makes perfect sense, right? Well, why didn't I do that with my foot? You know?
Do you think the elbow has a little bit more pain sensors of going resistant versus like your foot or your
I think
heel?
so. Well, if you think about like, look at your body. Here's a wacky thing. I don't know if you've ever done this. Most of your mobile joints and your non-mobile, like your just like bending hinge joints, they alternate. Mobile wrist, hinge elbow, mobile shoulder. You know, see what I
Gotcha.
mean? But your legs work same way, right? Ankles are the mobile thing. Knees are stable. Hips are mobile, right?
Sure.
So it kind of goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
I see what you're saying. I can see it with wrist locks too.
But see here, this would be a good example. Say you're practicing wrist locks or wrist lock defense. Would you just let your wrist be limp? No, you'd be like sitting tight. But the funny thing is, I didn't do that with my foot for some dumb reason.
Yeah.
So what I should have done is either pointed my toes, pulled it up, whatever, just something to create tension in the system and tighten my leg. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to share it with everyone because that was a mistake I made, and I might not have gotten this injury had I like been even just flexing my foot in some way.
Good point.
You know, versus being like, it's good, it's good, it's good, it's good, it's good, pop. You know, so that's something to consider, and also why I think flexibility is nice, but it's not like as good as being able to contract your muscles pretty hard.
Well, on top of that, I think I've heard a lot of good advice as far as like strengthening your joints too and bulletproofing yourself a little bit. Like it's armor, basically. Like if you're able to be a little stronger, you can at least buy yourself time to realize, you know, you're in trouble.
To tap.
I don't know you can do that with heels.
So here's what I think.
What muscle would
well, you got your calves and you got your anterior tibialis, right?
Work those leg days, everybody.
I think that big thing there would be like, calf raises, doing those like tib bar raises. Mm-hmm. Maybe there's some ankle stuff. Here's a wacky one I was thinking about. What if you had a tub full of rice, like people do rice digs?
Oh,
you put your feet in there and you do circles with your ankles.
That's smart.
Because it would give you resistance. Because it's kind of hard to resist.
Like kettlebells. Like you put kettlebells in rice and you twist the kettlebell with your hand.
Oh, okay. That's cool. I've never heard of that one.
Yeah.
We should get some rice here.
That's like the whole, what's it, like the kung fu stuff where you're jabbing your fingers into rice.
You go into it and you do this is what I've heard. And you can squeeze too.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I was talking to a guy in Tennessee about it. And he was like, yeah, because he actually had a knee injury. So he was just sitting there when he watches TV and he was digging in the rice. And he was like, sand is harder. Rice is easier. Some guys do sand.
I see why people do like water therapy, like swimming.
Yeah.
You know, it's not as much resistance, but.
So yeah, that's something I learned though, and I wanted to share that with everyone because maybe it'll save somebody popping their own ankle.
Tighter joints.
Yep, keep your joint tight. Like muscle is only helpful if you're actually using the dang thing. Mm-hmm. And that was something I didn't think about until I popped a joint. I probably, funny enough, intuitively understood this when I started jujitsu. As you do more jujitsu and get more relaxed, you get kind of complacent.
That's a good word for it.
And we have good training partners here that are everybody's pretty chill.
Yeah.
So nobody really is ripping things.
Yep.
And I just thought that was an interesting thing. And once my ankle heals, I think I'm going to go diving deep into leg lock defense and
it motivates you.
Just become a boss at that, right? Mm-hmm. Like, so I guess, is there anything? Yeah, I guess you did share what you learned about getting back onto the mats and having
that
like that
more of
permeation.
A psychology thing of just being there.
I think that's a big deal.
You know, I think that's just some people will feel disheartened, like they got injured and they feel like, oh, I can't make it back or whatever. If you have a really great training culture, people will want to be around and to view it versus just like you're just training just for, you know, yourself or a skill set or something like that. Like you want to be absorbed through the whole process. I was going to say that with the injuries as well that I've seen with jiu-jitsu, it's funny enough for how much we're actually trying to like cause things like joint lock discomfort or strangles that I've rarely seen malicious injuries.
Yeah, or the thing that was trying to get broken gets broken.
Like someone's doing an arm bar and it's like, I don't know, like people getting hurt by the arm bar. Like I think most people, if you preface it very early on in training, like will recognize when they're caught in something. It's always just a weird little thing.
Fall weird. Hand gets caught.
Yeah, it's like these little things. You know, you drop your knee down weird. It's just like
it's kind of you're like cold.
Yeah.
For those who are listening who are over the age of 25, you didn't warm up.
Man, I was wondering what age you'd start at.
For those who are over the age of 10, But no, for reals though, I noticed that I do need to warm up a little bit more.
Yeah.
I'm not old, but I'm definitely not a spring chicken still.
Well, and I think part of it too that I think some injuries get heightened, especially when you have less experience, because almost on the opposite end of what Matt's saying, I think sometimes being way too tense, sometimes your whole body will make it more rigid and prone to things twisting and locking too. Like
it's weird.
More of an anxious tension, not so much like a purposeful like flex.
Yeah, that's
right?
a good way to say it.
Versus like the whole body kind of gets tense and it's like now you're resisting against that tension and it's like, oh, like yeah, that feels horrible to me to think about that, like this kind of anxiety of pushing, because I've felt it on the opposite end. I've felt people be tense against me, and I'm like, dude, it just feels like your whole body's going to be wrecking at any second just from yourself.
Yeah.
It's just like, I'm like, imagine like your neck, if it was always tense rolling like that, like any little hinge or twitch, it's like that. But again, that comes back to my theory of the more experienced you are, the less injuries you'll, be having as you get older in your jiu-jitsu experience.
You know what's kind of crazy? When someone is really tense and new,
Yeah.
there is a funny thing that it can be hard to pull off stuff on them. Like
Yeah.
I wonder if some people get frustrated because they're like, oh, my game's not working. It's like, it will work. You're just going to have to like let them tire themselves out.
That's true.
Because when someone's like engaging in a strange way than what you're not used to, and they're super tense, and if they're relatively strong, like you're going to have a hard time moving them around. You'll have to alter your game a little bit.
I was never a big fan in the past when people would say like they would purposely only do 30-minute matches because you're like, well, I'm like I remember some of the old Gracie fight matches and older jiu-jitsu matches of like, well, we do 30 or 40 minutes because my goal is not to do. I'm gonna be all defensive and let this other person tire out trying to beat me up. Like it was, I think I've said this before, but the classic Simpsons episode where Homer wins because the guy's tired,
love that one.
Beat up. That's what I imagine some people do.
That
like,
so good.
I'm gonna get you so tired kicking my butt that then eventually that I can just do whatever I want. There's a tactic to that, but I think it can be a lot more concise and pressure based within like 10 minutes.
Yeah, or maybe even 5, honestly. Like if you're both pushing yourself.
You can pressure someone pretty quick and have them exert energy. Because think about it, a lot of people starting grappling new, if they went and rolled for the first time, within 2 minutes, they're like dead.
Yeah.
So it's like, because they don't know how to manage their systems, their energy levels and things like that. Like it's going to be bad.
Jordan actually gave me a great point yesterday.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So I was talking about how I had trouble getting to the 2-on-1, and he's like, yeah, man, it's super hard to get to the 2-on-1. And I was like, yeah, I felt like I just like kept trying to go for it. He's like,
the competition?
Yeah. And just in general, like sometimes it's really hard to get.
Sure.
And which is a bit of a bummer. But at the same time, he was like, dude, but you're still wearing them out and you're providing the pressure. And I was like, oh, that's a really good point, dude. Like, just because you don't get it, it's not like you were in a bad spot. You just disengage. And like everybody saw you are the aggressor, right? Yeah. Like, so you could still winning by decision, still winning,
Yeah, he was talking with me before, like him and Evan were rolling. I saw a couple times he would like shuck Evan, like the whole like strip down type thing.
Yeah, that move's sweet. He's so good at that.
By me watching it, I recognized there was like a change of momentum or energy that was happening. Like it looked like it was taking a toll, on the people he'd work with. Like that one guy he shuck back, like kind of, you almost have to reset. Like the momentum goes one way, you have to stop your momentum and then have to re-engage again.
Yeah.
So just saying, like as a mental exhaustion.
This cost me 5 points, but it takes 5 energy units, and it costs you 10.
Yeah.
I'll do this all day, baby. Just over and over.
But people get frustrated and tired. I was watching some video game commentary because I'm enjoying that recently. Of
nerd.
But you're saying like some fighting video games where people would be so focused on killing their partner right away, like to beat, versus like frustrating them. So you think if you have a match right away, like a Street Fighter game, and you're like, just go, and your goal is like, I'm gonna go get them, and try to beat them. Maybe more of a tactful approach is like beat and a little defensive, block. Like you basically like are very strategic with how you're cutting down their health bar versus just like button mash and just go. And I thought, how interesting, because they're saying like, you have a 2-minute clock or 3-minute clock or whatever, and you're like trying to just like either frustrate them or get them aggressive. They open up and they strike. Like it's a lot more of a planned attack. And I'm like, I can see that with jiu-jitsu 100% versus like, imagine if you had 5 or 6 minutes on the clock and you knew what you were doing right now is like getting them frustrated and exhausted.
Yeah.
And then by the end half of that match, now suddenly they're making weird mistakes or pushing a lot more, or
you're encoding their movement too the whole time.
Yeah, you're priming them for all these responses. And then you get people who are frustrated or, rage quit, I guess, mentally of like, now I'm just frustrated, I'm going to attack. Well, now it becomes a Musashi thing where, people are just going to try to beat you, and now they open themselves up.
I noticed that actually. So I'm a nerd too, to the audience.
What?
But I like playing some games that are kind of hard. Like I like the Dark Souls games a bit.
You see God of War's got the new DLC.
I didn't. I'm not on social medias and stuff.
Valhalla, it's free.
Oh,
and it's like
guess what I'm downloading later.
It's all like big, huge challenge things.
Oh, I gotta remember how to play now.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's like a huge thing, and then like they allow things to be leveled up and all that stuff.
So everyone, I love God of War, and I beat it on Gimme God of War mode, and that was like a big. I beat all the Valkyries in the fourth one, and that was a big thing for me.
That's why I was saying it, because I know you were like trying to
love the challenges. But funny enough, I know what I noticed. If you go running into that game and you just go smash, 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 smash on Gimme God of War mode, you will not do very well. You have to be concise and be patient, and you'll end up doing better.
War, Valhalla.
Let me see that. Let me see that. Oh my goodness, this is gonna be so great.
Yeah, it's like a bunch of like tests and trials and challenges for him.
Good.
I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Okay. Well, looks like I'm downloading that later. Good thing I didn't borrow it to my brother.
I was kind of glad because I really enjoyed the game, but I was kind of like, some games I go through the storyline, and then I did that one on like the second level of difficulty. I think I didn't do like the highest one.
I should have done it on Gimme God of War mode.
I know.
I babied out and went one down.
Yeah.
And then I went to go play it in Gimme God of War mode, and I beat like a lot of the bosses with just my fists. And I was like, I should have done this, because it was honestly like way easy to play through on the give me a challenge mode or whatever it is.
I think if this one has that same thing, they get like the ultimate one, like I'm gonna probably do that.
I think I might, if it's DLC, it might just add on to your current game though.
I think it's
so I might go play through the game then on Gimme God of War mode and finish it. I got 100% on the other one, but yeah, that's okay. I'm a nerd. Sorry, folks. Anyways, we like video games here. We like them. We think they're fun.
We talked about doing a stream too sometime of maybe we'll get like a UFC game or something like that.
Yeah.
We can stream and have fun with it.
By the way, so before we end, yeah, we're coming up on that time. I thought I would just share a couple things, what I'm going to be doing with my hurt ankle, just in case anybody finds that helpful.
Oh, maybe that give me some templates of what people can do with certain injuries.
Yeah, so my ankle, the big thing I'm not doing is standing, which is a bummer, because I've been working my standing, and I was getting some progress, but it's okay. It'll be waiting for me when I heal up. I'm doing a lot of just sitting on my butt. Honestly, it's my right ankle, and I'm not using it too much. So I'll use it a little bit for some hooking on people, but or like pinning with my shin. But even with escapes, I'm barely using the thing. So admittedly, I'm going to be not really the hammer. I'm going to be the nail quite a bit, but I'm working my bottom game. I was thinking like we did some stuff with half guard yesterday, and from electric chair, and I thought that was fantastic. I need to do that more. I'm probably gonna be working that a lot more because it's slow and methodical once you get to that position.
Right.
The lockup didn't hurt my ankle. And then also doing some just like slow pressure passing, maybe doing some body lock passing, armbar escapes from the bottom. I can do those, and that doesn't hurt my ankle. I'm really just looking for stuff that I can do that has a low chance of hurting me. If I'm going with someone that I trust won't fall on me or hurt me, then like yesterday I was doing some like kind of live rounds. Everybody was really great about it. No, I didn't get hurt, and I was really happy that I got to get in and do some jujitsu. So I was honestly just happy with the win there. And then focusing on some of my cross training. So I lift like 1 to 2 days a week. I'll be lifting 2 and using my fan bike a little bit. So hopefully I'm not terribly out of shape when I come back full. But my goal is actually to leave this injury being much better at guard. And my bottom game, I should say. At half guard is really what I'm thinking about. But yeah, so it's just, I'm tailoring the game around that. And if someone wants to like stand and wrestle, I'm just going to say, hey man, I can't.
Right.
And if someone's new, I might say, hey, can you start on my back? I like give someone or have them start a mount.
That's actually good injury opinion. That's the advice. You could just be positionally sparring with people too. Like you could say, well, this is where I'm comfortable working with right now.
This doesn't hurt.
This doesn't hurt or whatever. And it's like, well, sure, everyone can relate to injuries and all that kind of stuff too. And also, if you are in a point where you can't be on the mat at a time, not only observing thing, but this will give you a good opportunity too, or as well, to maybe find an instructional.
Yeah.
To find something
which is also what I've been doing.
Like and work that mental framework as well. That way you can start figuring out, you can kind of quiz yourself and work on those things so that when you come back, now you have the mental framework, and then at least you can fill in with the physical responses and go from there.
And it also works really well when you're watching these videos. I like to use the Jiu-Jitsu journal.
I was just thinking
Nina has them on Amazon, and Levi has some here that are specific to the studio.
Yes.
Are yours on Amazon too?
No. They're just for for theory members.
Okay. So for those who are theory members, talk to Levi.
Mm-hmm.
If you want one that's a little more broad,
Mhm.
like I travel around, so I have Nina's. And check it out on Amazon. It's very affordable. Like I've said before,
pricey,
I don't know how she's making money on these things. Nina, raise your prices. You need to make more money than
I was
this.
talking with her that maybe part of it too would be working with other gym owners
Mm.
and like having some sort of customized for them.
Yeah. If you have a gym and you're listening and you want to partner up with Nina, let us know and we can put you in contact with her.
Jiu-Jitsu journals.
And Nina, come on to the podcast. Talk about your
There you go.
jiu-jitsu journal.
Let's do it. And training too. It'd be fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess anything else on injuries?
No, I mean, I had a crazy injury back when I was like 17 or 18 years old. I had a young wrestler basically suplex me from behind
Oof.
and cracked my rib.
Ooh.
And I didn't think about it too much. Like I thought it would go away over time.
Did you like hear it crack when you hit the ground?
I felt a crunch.
Oh,
like it felt bad.
That's rough.
And I didn't know exactly what, but rib injuries are kind of weird too. Actually, if you wanted to say about changing up strategies, I became really good at preventing side control for a while because I didn't want anyone laying on side control, so my guard retention went up. It comes back every once in a while if I have someone that's really heavy that got on top of me that can feel it just a little bit. But like walking around day to day, I don't feel anything. It's only once it's strained a little bit. But anyways, obviously because we are a physical sport and we're pushing and challenging ourselves a lot, there will always be little injuries that maybe are very small, level 0.5, level 1. You know, it's just like it's something that you have over time. But I remember hearing a while ago, it's like, well, either you pay now or you pay later. And so either you have little things like that now or you have injuries later on in your life because you're not using your body.
Mm.
You know, and I'm not saying there's equivalents. Like, obviously, always check with your
physician.
Coach. This is your coach now. Like, if you have a good, healthy training environment and there's not bad blood and people are having fun, you'll also find less injuries too because now not every single match is a God of War type environment where you're just going to the death. I think that sometimes will enhance people getting injured because people will suddenly be very resistant to tapping. You know, I don't want to lose to you. Just because jiu-jitsu is a spot where it's not like us getting pinned and we lose. Submissions come from us verbally saying, you know, tap or to choose to say uncle and I quit. So if you have an ego thing against somebody else and you're like, I don't want to quit to them, it was similar to me when I said with my foot, where I was just like, nope, I'm going to keep going with this. And, you know, I got bit with it. So you have to have a good training culture too, that everyone cares about each other, that you're not just some random person that's in my way of doing jiu-jitsu, and that will lessen injuries as well.
I like it. People rest sometimes too. Seriously.
Yes.
If you don't take time to rest, your body will force you.
Yeah.
You know?
Sometimes too, like Matt had a really great quote not that long ago that he was saying of scaling your week a little bit. That you're talking about, like Monday you'd be a little slow, and then Tuesday, and then like
it's microcycling
it. So that would probably help too if you keep wearing your body out, doing 100% sparring every single day.
You can't. You gotta.
Your body's gonna go.
This is classic. So Dr. Mike Israetel from Renaissance Periodization. He has a great, him and I think Dr. James Hoffman, I think, are the people who made it. They made a whole framework on like, you got to understand what your maximum recoverable volume is. Mm-hmm. What's the maximum effective volume? What's the minimum effective volume? And theirs is in the context of like strength training, but it applies to physical sport too. And so if you know how many, if you're like really going crazy with it, know how many hard rolls you can do a week, that's a really good thing. But I actually just kind of break it into, I have about 2 or 3 good hardish days in me for jujitsu. Doesn't mean I don't do jujitsu more than that. It just means that I either way tailor it down and I'm just, people are throwing me in darces and I'm just trying to defend and stuff that day. And I'm really not like moving around much. But then there's days that I come in and I'm like, today is a day that I'm really going to try to push myself. You can only have so many of those. It's best not to have them all touching within the week. And then I actually take, like every 6 to 8 weeks, I take a full week off. Sometimes I plan that around my work. And I do no jujitsu and sometimes not even any strength training. And I just let my body heal. Mm-hmm. That's been really helpful.
Yeah, that's the longevity in our sport. I think sometimes with our culture that it's all go, 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 hard, hard, hard. But the problem is like once you get out of your 20s, it like all gets accrued, you know, later on. So I think people mistake training smart with training hard. I think anybody can train hard, but you end up wrecking your body and you don't, especially in our sport, like you don't gain any technical insights. I think Gordon always said that, like he's like, he's like, anybody can come in the gym and roll hard.
Yeah.
Anybody can do that. But to come in and go, why was my arm lock not working? And to understand the mechanics of it doesn't take an aggressive mind. It takes someone who can be focused and problem solve, which is why I think jiu-jitsu is very much a nerdy sport these days, because it becomes this like deeper understanding of mechanics and strategy versus just like, I'm gonna come in here and I'm just gonna try to beat people up, like until someone's very technical. So I think if you take that technical approach, you'll be a lot more respectful with your body, and then both of those add up very well for some good performances.
I'll say if you're not measuring progress in years, you're probably too short-sighted.
That's true. We'll throw one last subject here: injuries and competitions itself.
Oh wait, hold on. Should we make that a whole nother episode?
Well,
We're at an hour.
Well, I'm just saying, like, maybe it's something that's too long of a topic,
okay.
But just the fact, like, because, things are a little bit more tense, I think people, or I should say there's a lot of people that are afraid of getting injured at competitions.
I was.
Let's put it that way.
Yes. Next competition I do, I'll be just as afraid of it.
Yeah. Well, and like Matt was saying about the tenseness, it's good to be aware of it, right? Because people are trying to do joint locks and things like that. It's the best advice I can give as a jiu-jitsu athlete as far as like decreasing injuries at a competition is, first of all, if you're in dark waters and you don't know how to escape something, just tap. Like if I'm on the bottom of a spider web and my hands are locked and I'm like, I don't know how to get out of this arm lock. Like, do you want to risk these arms getting unhooked and having them send that arm back? It's like, no. So be safe when you feel like you can't escape a joint lock position to just tap.
If you're going to tap anyways too, like,
yeah,
like if you're in a bad spot and you're not really confident on being able to get out of it, like if you hurt your arm because you waited too long to say tap, what are you gaining, right? Like, it's not like you get bonus points doing that. Like, I get it, guys who compete for a living, a little bit of a different story maybe, and they got a image to uphold and stuff. Like, I don't see Gordon Ryan actually tapping to like a choke. He'll just go out. Yeah. But we're not Gordon Ryan guys. And I hate to break it to you, we're not Gordon Ryan.
It's true. And then the second advice would be friendly, be personable, talk with people. I liked all of our competitors did really well. I just remember cornering Matt, and Matt made an effort every single time when there's somebody there. Like, he introduced himself and who he was.
Yeah.
And
college,
even if they're very minimum in their responses, I think the idea that now you're personable with someone, sometimes that can make
it like surprised the guys I said hello to. They were like, huh? Yeah. It was actually kind of funny where they're like, hi, my name's Matt. Oh, hi, my name's, insert name.
Can you imagine if we had war with each other and you go across a battlefield, go introduce yourself to everybody? Like, oh, hey, I'm Matt, I'm Bob, I'm Steve.
Yeah.
Like,
it's not war though, it's grappling.
Well,
it's grappling.
But some people frame it as war. They frame it as like, that's why it's like the aggressive headphones on and just like jumping back and forth, like, I got this and you're going down and all this stuff.
Yeah, we're not really aggressive dudes.
Well, especially once you get to a point where, you're more of a hobbyist, you're doing this as a good outlet for testing yourself. Like,
if my jiu-jitsu's better, I'll win.
To me, it's better in the long term. If you're not looking to be like an ADCC champion, is to utilize the platform as a way of connecting with other fellow jiu-jitsu athletes. Like, it's Matt, I've had a couple of people too, like meeting at competition and stuff, and now you're on social media, you're contacting them, you're dropping into gyms. Like, it's way better for longevity.
It's more fun
to have more fun. So
we're doing this for fun, guys. This is a leisure activity.
Thing.
Like, let's not kid ourselves. Like, this is completely what would be categorized as a leisure activity. We do this because we have abundance.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that you can't test yourself and push limits, but
definitely you can use it for development.
Like what Matt just said earlier, like, you have to think about years, about doing this too. But it doesn't mean that you can't be honest with it. It doesn't mean that you have to be super, super, super light. You should be authentic with your training, but be smart. And I guess that's what we're talking about.
Be smart, folks.
Be smart.
Consult your physician before training.
We'll do that. All right, thegrapplingpodcast.com. Find Matt on the Grapple Pod.
Yeah, Grapple Pod on Xbox. I won't be available for some time, though, because I'll be on PS4 playing that new God of War DLC. So drop me a message. If you want to do Sea of Thieves or something like that, let me know. I've been playing Goat Simulator 3 lately. My son likes it.
Goat Simulator 3.
It's pretty funny.
That's way too funny. I wanted to play...
It starts with a Skyrim intro.
Really?
Yeah, it's really funny. But they're all goats.
They're on the cart?
Yeah, they're on a cart and they go, good, you're awake. It's really funny. And then they even talk about like, stupid. Isn't this funny? It's very similar to Skyrim. Like, they literally are like the guy doing the narrative. I'm going to give you some exposition. as we're driving to catch you up on what's going on.
That's so stupid.
It's so dumb. It's it's a brilliant little game though.
Oh, I've seen that a couple times.
Okay.
All right, cool.